Welcome to Purple Easel Spotlight, where we put the spotlight on artists and creatives. My name's Latoya.
And I'm Megan.
And we're both art instructors here at California's largest paint sip studio, Purple Easel. Today, we're going to be talking about Akira Yoshizawa.
I'm so excited.
Yes, Megan is going to enlighten us on Yoshizawa. What did he do?
He made origami. Not only did he make origami, he's considered the grand master of modern origami. So, he was born in 1911 to a dairy farm family. He taught himself origami as a child, as most Japanese children do. And his interest was actually later rekindled in his 20s. He was working at a factory and he was promoted, which required him to teach the junior employees a bunch of geometry. So he used the origami to teach the geometry.
Wow.
I know. Super creative approach. So he, unfortunately, after he left the factory, lived pretty much in poverty. He sold some sort of condiment.
Oh, yes, definitely, yes. It was like a seaweed, something to do with like a seaweed condiment.
Door to door, which any door to door salesman situation just feels very down on your luck.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Yeah.
But he was pursuing origami, and then he ended up going into the army for World War II, where he was in the Med Corps. And he would make little origami things for all the sick people.
Yeah.
Cheer them up, and it was the sweetest thing ever.
So sweet.
Art is powerful.
It sure is.
But he was really the person who took origami from a hobby craft situation and made an art out of it. And he got his break when he created the 12 Eastern zodiac signs for a magazine spread.
Yes, I think this was like, what, in the 1950s, believe?
Somewhere around there, yes. And it's so cool because you can see all the aminals.
So did he do the wet fold for this one or not?
So
I can't remember.
I feel like he was probably starting to experiment with it because you can see that he really mastered the wet folding technique, which was new and something that he developed. He also developed creating notations for like fold here and blah, blah, blah for diagrams. And that's used pretty universally now, but at the time there was no system in place.
Yes, correct.
So that was all him.
And I also did not know until today, or when I was doing the research on this, about wet folding.
It never occurred to me.
Yeah, I would say I'd never seen it, but it never again occurred. And then when you see origami, that's usually not what you see. You see like
you're used to very crisp planes, like straight lines.
Yeah.
The wet folding allows you to almost get more of a sculptural quality, and you can see it kind of in the rounding out of a lot of his figures.
Yes.
So here, the wet folding is super prominent.
Yes.
Because it kind of has like that ballooning, curved.
Yeah. It's nothing that you can get without the water.
Right. No, definitely could not. Yeah. It's allowing the paper to be manipulated in a much different way than just straight up folding.
Yes.
Speaking of folding, this dude folded a lot. He is estimated to have created over 50,000 models.
Some of which that aren't like in the books either. From what I understand, yeah.
So he has like 18 books that were published with hundreds of diagrams, but then hundreds compared to 50,000. Like some trade secrets there, man, for sure. But I think part of what helped him transcend into the art realm is his use of creating a scene. So you can see that here. We've got your, kind of standard origami bird type thing going on, but then you've got it in context, which was probably never done prior to that.
No.
This is just like a whole little installation.
Yeah.
With the origami, which I think is so cool.
Which is something, again, you don't see a whole lot of because typically when you think of origami, you think of just one little piece right there.
You think of the crane.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And the crane actually is very synonymous with peace.
Okay, yes.
Because cranes live for 1,000 years, and that long lifespan is kind of revered in the Japanese culture. And it's said that if you fold 1,000 paper cranes, a wish will come true.
Oh.
I know, it's so sweet.
Oh.
But I don't know if anybody's actually ever done it.
I'm sure someone has.
Somebody,
I'm sure
right?
someone. I wonder if a wish came true.
A lot of cranes. It's a lot.
I want to say one thing about these little tiny birds is, okay, that's kind of why I can't do, I would say I can't, but they're so small. The little baby birds are so tiny. Like, how do you get those little folds? Like, how do you
use tweezers or something?
Ah,
right? Like,
yeah.
There's no way your fingers could get in there.
Yeah, my fingers hurt just looking at it.
Fingers, I don't know. But this is so cute.
That's adorable.
And that is the artist admiring his work, interacting with it. And I just think the pose, the structure, everything about this is just next level.
Not only that, but it really makes me think about how he didn't, from what I understand, didn't sell anything. He just gave it out to the world for the world to enjoy. And this picture very much symbolizes, I don't know, because it's just a very, what's the word I'm looking for?
It feels personal.
Yeah, it's very like just it's a sweet image.
It
a
is
very
super
childlike,
sweet.
innocent, sweet, kind-hearted
Yeah.
image / person.
It's good vibes.
Yeah, good vibes.
It's super good vibes. And I think that was really his whole shtick. Like, he just wanted to give, and I think that's part of why we have all the books, so people can recreate them. And origami as a art form has kind of a lot of spiritual Buddhist vibes to it as well. It was actually because the Buddhists brought over paper and popularized it, and they used origami to decorate their temples because it was more cost effective.
Nice.
And so children will learn kind of your basic origami, and it's just part of the culture. Everybody knows how to make a paper crane.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like it's being gate-kept, like in any sort of way.
No, it's not. In fact, there are origami societies all over the world. And he was a big part. They partnered with him with the ones in, I think, England and in the United States. Once origami kind of hit the US, I think around the 50s, and it blew up in popularity, it was really cool how much people were like, well, yeah, let me show you.
Yeah.
In our culture, he was actually given a commendation by the emperor for being a cultural ambassador, getting the Japanese culture out there through origami.
Nice.
Which I think is super cool.
It's amazing. So there's a quote that I wanted to share from Yoshizawa that I feel like encompasses his whole being, his artwork and everything.
Awesome.
And the quote is this: "When you fold, the ritual, the act of creation is more important than the final result."
All about the journey.
It sure is.
Oh man, I love it. And it really speaks to like that Zen quality. And I feel like people can achieve that whenever they come paint with us here at Purple Easel, because we're a different environment. We're walking them through that journey from beginning to end. They start with a blank canvas and then they get to take something home that they're proud of.
It really is. And, you know, we do say that when we're on stage that, like, look what we have done. Look at what we have accomplished in 2 hours. Like you said, it came from a blank canvas, and now we have something that is not blank, obviously.
But just that intrinsic value of being there and doing it, everything takes practice.
Yes.
And I think even when people are not super stoked on the final product, they forget that they just learned something and they just experienced something. And I love being able to be a part of that.
And I do want to say that it is very similar to a quote that I had spoken about Roy Lichtenstein, because he had said something very similar about like the journey. I can't remember if it was a quote or not, but I remember us talking about.
We did talk about
essentially the journey really does matter. You want to get to the end of the final product because that's what we all want. That's what we're here doing the art, making the creation for. But it's a whole experience.
Yeah.
Going through the journey. There's like a whole ups and downs. Is it going to turn out good? Is it not? I don't know. I'm a failure. I'm not. And then you're like, you know what? I learned a lot.
Yeah.
This took time. I essentially birthed this thing that I've created.
Absolutely. And I think some of the thrill of the journey is messing up.
Yes.
Because when you mess up, there is no better feeling than when you recover.
I tell people that all the time, and I don't know if people actually like me saying that, but I tell them that I want them to fail because it's the only way to learn. You only learn through making mistakes. And we work with acrylic here at Purple Easel. So if you don't like it, wait for it to dry. We can blow dry it for you, and you can do it over. You can go right over it again, which is the beauty about acrylic. So yeah, don't be afraid to make mistakes. We do it all the time. Just don't know.
And that's the thing too, is like, that's what you're not seeing when we're up on stage, is that back catalog of mistakes that we've made to get to that point. I always joke when people are starting to get frustrated, or if I whip through something real quick, like palm trees, I'll do some after I've shown them how, and then I get down off the stage to check on everybody, and they're like, how do you do it so fast? I'm like, well, I'm the professional. But that's exactly what it is. You've got all of that intrinsic learning that has happened that you can now use to your advantage.
That's actually really, 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 really cool, because even though we've done 1 million palm trees, and we'll do 1 million more palm trees.
All the palm trees.
Yes, and so people are like, how do you do it so fast? Well, it's because we've done it a gazillion times almost every day. But you get to that point because you've done it so many times, and you can get there too. You just have to do it repetition.
Muscle memory. It's like everything else. You got to work those muscles. All right. So this artist is essentially why we're talking about paper art today, because this is probably my current favorite artist. Which my favorite artist changes all the time. But right now, I am all about Yulia Brodskiya?
Brodskiya.
Russian.
Brodskiya.
Yeah. We'll go to that. Yeah, so she's Russian, and she's currently working out of the UK, and she started using a paper strip to sign her name as a distinctive way to attract clients, because she was designing a bunch of stuff, and it just sort of started to morph into paper art. And this particular style of paper art is referred to as quilling. And quilling has been around forever. In fact, it also started very similar to origami. And it was in the churches. They were using the leftover, like the gold edging from the Bibles, and twirling it around a quill and creating designs and artwork with it as an economical way to decorate the church.
I had no... What?
Yeah, so you'll see a lot of like old versions with some sort of religious icon in the center. Maybe it was painted, and then a bunch of quilling and stuff around it, which I think is so cool, that this is like the modern take. And you can see the evolution. And you can see how she goes from her name and explores all this typography, which I love typography. Helvetica.
Yes, that's Helvetica. I'm glad you feel the same way about Helvetica that I do.
Yeah, and then so you see the typography and a little bit of like design going around it, and then she started to develop paper graphs. And this is where it gets fun.
It's so pretty.
The colors.
The colors are everything.
The shape. I feel like shape is such a dominant component to her artwork, and it's not for a lot of artists. You know, you see a lot of line, you see a lot of contrast, or even texture, but shape is kind of the undervalued
I agree with that
component. And here it really comes into play.
It's so pretty. This is the first time I'm seeing it, so I'm like,
you get to experience.
Yes, I am experiencing. Yes, I'm very much experiencing it right now.
It gets better. So now we start to see more of a composition coming out of these things. That's, I think, why they have the graph portion in the name. So we've got a lot of elements coming together, lots of different colors,
This is so cool because I see like there's so much happening, and it's like I have sound effects happening in my head as I'm looking at this, and like
it's an explosion of
really much. You see all these, the cogs, and then the electricity, and then the arrows, and then like the circles, and they're all just kind of coming out in different directions. And I don't know, it's against the black background, it really pops.
I love the zebras.
The zebras are so amazing. And the one thing that I really like, I like how you can see it from this distance. You can see all the little individual sheets of paper or folded paper. And so you can see more in depth and how much effort it took to create those zebra heads.
Right, and that's why I wanted to include it, because it could be a painting, just looking at the image straight on, but it's once you get that angled view, you start to realize all the magic that is happening.
Yeah.
So after all of that, her work increasingly became portraits, which is super cool and further like blurred those lines between quilling and painting. Something I think that's really neat about her is she arrived at quilling without even knowing what quilling was.
Oh, really?
And her technique is a little bit different than like classic quilling. You would normally be like a really thin paper that you can easily manipulate it, but she uses like thicker paper or even cardstock.
Yeah.
And yet here we are. And I think that's part of why it might be so different and has that textural component to it.
It gives you a whole different look with the different grades of paper.
Yes, absolutely. It's almost like a heavy-handed artist who really pushes into the paper when they draw.
And you can see each individual brush stroke in their painting. This one I like a lot because it has that 2D, 3D feel to it, because you have like the flat sheet of paper, which is the area of the beard, which is just like, and then also the hat has this kind of flat 2D look, but then you have the 3D look with the upright, sheets, the folded sheets.
It really gives a good balance. And you've got, not only is it black and white is kind of like these main pieces, which kind of relax you from all that is happening with the face. Every one of those little pieces of paper is like a wrinkle, is a story of this old man, the life that he's lived. I just love the juxtaposition of the smooth, and then having that negative space is so well used.
Yeah, that the use of the negative and positive space you can see definitely in the nose area, because there essentially isn't anything there but just what's underneath the sheet of paper or canvas or
just
whatever
like
it is.
Working in watercolor, you kind of have to think backwards and where am I going to not touch the paper and leave it alone so that it can be a highlight. It's the same exact concept. I want this above my couch.
This is beautiful.
Stare at it.
This looks ginormous. I don't know if it is or not, but it looks ginormous, and it's just so pretty.
It's so pretty. I love this kind of composition anyway, where I see faces in some sort of organic structure combined, whether it's like your classic tattoo of flowers coming out of a skull or something. But there's something about that. It's like a sense of growth and beauty and natural, and I love it.
You know what? This looks okay. So we know that it's paper, but it almost looks like tiny little books.
Oh yeah,
like a little library or something. I don't know.
Especially because of the structure, I think, in the like rim of the veil, and I love the subtle like shadowing just by using kind of different colors of white or like a little bit of beige. You get that shadow effect, and it gives structure to it, and the kind of the warmer colors that you have even for the shadow of the skin, that like bright pink and that purple is such a good contrast to all the teals and blues and everything that's happening.
That's so crazy. It looks so painterly, but it is not. It is so amazing.
So crazy. And look how big it is. It's as big as she is.
Yeah, that's dope.
I don't know how that could so much time. So much time.
There's so much time and effort. It's just so amazing. I just love looking at these.
And it's really a marriage of like that painterly quality, but also sculpture. It has a sculptural element to it as well, because it has that third dimension, even though it's done kind of flat. All right. So then we get some famous faces in here because, of course.
Yes.
And again, just the amount of texture that is happening, and the light side of Paul's face and the dark side of his face. It just has that like duality.
Yeah. Does she have a lot of celebrity portraits?
So she gets commissions a lot. She's even done stuff for commercials. There was one on there for like Cadbury, which was really cute. It was like little milk pouring out, and then all the white.
Oh, okay.
Just splashed. Yeah, it was a lot of. And then this one in particular was for a magazine cover.
Okay.
And I mean, everybody loves some Princess Di, but
of course.
Oh my gosh, the the tiara.
Yeah, the little circles.
And then just the way the hair goes from dense,
I was just about to say that.
super thin,
Yeah.
where like the light would be shining.
Yeah, it looks, it's so crazy how it's just a trick on the eyes.
Yeah.
And how she plays on that.
Yeah.
Because there's depth, but then there's like that the feathery look
Right.
around the hair. That's wild. That's just
And then
crazy.
look at the earrings. Even the earrings have that, like just that little bit. There's probably what, 2 blue colors in there, but it's just enough to give it a shape
Yeah,
and create a shadow.
it's nice.
Oh,
Ooh.
I just love the way that she thinks. Like to plan all this out, first of all, but then to combine, so it's not just a person. There's something else going on.
Yeah.
Even if it's a portrait, there's nuances to it. And I mean, the combination here with the jaguar is stunning to me.
These concepts are really, really good.
Yeah.
On top of just the work itself.
What juice are you drinking, Julia? Because we need some.
Yeah, my mind's blown. This is the first time I'm seeing them. So I'm like, what?
Now you're understanding why this is one of my current faves.
I see.
Low-key obsessed. But yeah, the fact that she kind of arrived here on her own without influence of past Quilling, I think allowed her to rewrite the book.
Yeah.
Speaking of rewriting books, great segue. She actually published one and she shares everything she's learned about it, which I think is so cool when you have a pretty niche, like artistic thing going on.
And then you're sharing it.
And you're sharing it.
That
'Cause
gatekeep
the
it.
tendency is to want to hoard that because that's what makes you special.
Yeah,
that's what makes your art worth.
Yeah.
But to share that information out and explain all of her learnings and the do's and don'ts it's for humanity.
Just like Yoshizawa.
So Toya, in light of their contributions, how important is it that artists share their work?
I think it's very important, and it was about a month ago where I saw this TikTok actually, and it was this lady, and she was talking about this saxophonist that she saw on the street, or it was like a little street band kind of situation. So after they perform, she goes up to the saxophonist and is like, "So where can I find you? Are you on Instagram?" And he goes, "No." Are you on Facebook? No. Do you have Spotify? No, I'm not on any of those things. And she said, I was willing to buy something from, I want to hear more. You have a gift, like I want to hear more of that. But if I can't find you anywhere, then it's lost on deaf ears, essentially, like no pun intended. So
one and done.
yeah. So there is someone that is going to be interested in your stuff. There's always going to be someone who is interested in your stuff. If you don't put yourself out there, then you're not making yourself known to be enjoyed by society.
Absolutely. And I think of all the classics, right? Everything basically that's considered public domain at this point. Even like the birthday song or Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, they're so ingrained in our society.
Oh, yeah.
But if somebody just kept that under the vest,
Yeah.
where would we be?
Yeah.
Now the birthday song.
Yeah.
Just think of that life. That's a sad
That's
life.
a weird life.
That's super weird.
I would never think about that. But that's what we're talking about right now, is if you don't put yourself or your work out there, then no eyes will see it, no ears will hear it, and it will pass and no one will know that it existed.
I mean, taking it to that next level and doing it solely for the sake of the common good, that's very admirable, but that's an awful lofty goal. So start small.
Yes.
Make an Instagram. Get on a Facebook group. Whatever it is, whatever craft, whatever medium, there is an audience. And there are other people dabbling in it and learning and struggling just as much. So join those communities because it can change everything.
And a personal note from me is just do it scared. Why? Because I have fire fans. I have yet to spin fire on them. However, whenever I see someone spinning fire on my Instagram, I'm like, dang, at least they're doing it. I could do it, but I haven't even done it yet. So they're already a step ahead of me. I need to have the courage. I need to just do it scared because there's someone out there who's already kind of like living a dream. So if you see people doing it, you can do it too.
Yeah, and surrounding yourself with like-minded or brave people. Bravery comes in all shapes and sizes. It is not just people with capes. Let me tell you, not all heroes wear capes.
Yes.
You can be your own hero just by accomplishing something.
Oh, yeah.
I am so proud of this because I've always been like very timid and introverted, and like this is so far outside the realm of anything I ever imagined that I would be doing. Like, man, it gives me goosebumps, and it's a sense of accomplishment. But if I had never gone for it or never taken the teeny tiny steps along the way, like even just recording myself for a touch base for my staff, you know, those kind of things helped lead me here.
Yeah.
It's the journey.
Yes.
Again, it's always the journey.
From all of us at Purple Easel, thank you so much for tuning in.
Make sure to check out our artists today in the links below, Akira Yoshizawa and Yulia Brodskiya.
Join us at purpleeselplus.com to paint with the world's largest paint studio online.
And if you meander over to SoCal, make sure to stop into our studio. In the meantime, create more and create often.
Bye.
Akira Yoshizawa and Yulia Brodskiya. I'm gonna get it.